Okay, today we are going to do the ball joints upper and lower on a 2004 Dodge Ram 4x4. And the first thing you want to do is loosen up your wheel bolts, and you're going to jack it up safely, and you want to put a jack stand under there, safety first. I'm jacking right under the lower control arm. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to back off the torsion bar, the spring, which is that long running piece of metal right there. And you are going to turn that bolt right there counterclockwise, and you want to count the turns. You want to mark where that bolt is. Just put a little piece of paint on it and then count from there how many turns you back it out. And that'll give you a rough estimate when you're putting it back together of how the height is set. Okay? You can see on there, I put a little paint mark. Open up your, get on there as close as you can and start counting how many times it takes to take that bolt out. Okay, it took about a little over 17 turns to get that bolt out. So now the pressure is off the torsion bar here, so you should be able to take out your ball joints and whatnot without fear of the anything flying off and hitting you in the face. Okay, next thing we're going to do is take the caliper off. Careful when you're prying on this, you don't want to pop the piston dust covers. You'll be replacing the caliper as well. I'm bending the anti-rattle strip to get the caliper pop off, because I'm going to replace the pads on here too, because they're pretty bad, and I'll put new anti-rattle clips on there. This is the sometimes the piston gets pinching it more toward the bottom, so it's tough to get out. Just press against there a little bit, put some pressure on the piston. Again, don't pop that dust seal or you'll be replacing the caliper. There we go. Set that on something so you're not putting too much pressure on that caliper, so it's not completely hanging. And the next thing we'll be taking off is the pads. You can slide the pads out. They're not horrible, but it's just about time. This one's starting to crack there. Once that center strip starts going away, it's about time. Especially if I'm this far in, you may as well do it. Okay, one thing you want to do before you get all this apart, the tie rod, the upper ball joint and your lower ball joint, is loosen your hub nut for the half shafts. And to do that without having to put the wheel back on the ground and stabilize it, I put the lug nuts back on to protect the threads. Not that it matters, because we're going to replace these hub bearing too, but you can put brace in there, something that'll lock it against the floor, and get your nut on there, or your socket. This is 36 millimeter. I actually think it's a 35 because this is a little sloppy. But I already did the other side and it'll work. Supposedly it was about 100. It's supposed to be 180 foot-pounds of torque. But the other side was not even close to that. It almost came off by hand, which is probably why it failed so early. This truck has about 128,000 miles on it, so that's how you want to get it off. And again, see, that one wasn't even close to 180 pounds. Check the VIN on this, but some of these were assembled in Mexico, so maybe those guys are on siesta or coming back from their siesta when they assembled this truck. Nothing against our Latin American brothers, but you know. Next thing we're going to do is take the tie rod off, or at least loosen the bolt for now. Nut, I should say. Okay, in theory, particularly since we're not changing the tie rod ends, this is still pretty good. They're nice and stiff still. You're supposed to be able to pop that and it'll undo it. But the original ones too have a nice little area you can tap that a couple times. Sometimes. Okay, so that's loose now. Took a few more taps there, and a couple taps there. They have enough here. Even if you mushroom it at the bottom, you'll be able to remove the nut. So they were smart on those. Same thing goes on your top ones and your bottom ones. But since we're replacing the upper ball joint. The ball joint and the control arm bushings are all one unit, so this whole A-arm gets replaced, and then we're going to do the ball joint on the bottom too. Okay, it's not coming off the easy way, so we're going to use the old pickle fork, because like I said, we're not keeping these ball joints, so okay, after much pounding, got the lower or the upper ball joint loose. What we're going to do from here is we're going to remove this nut, and it'll free the knuckle up, push this push the half shaft through here. See if the half shaft is loose, so we'll lower that, and that'll give us some room to undo the lower ball joint. Okay, so removing the upper A-arm from the knuckle allowed us to turn this a little bit in order to get a couple swings on the lower, and that one came loose pretty easily, so now you can remove the nut, and we're going to slide the axle shaft out and lower the whole knuckle. The actual shaft stays in place. Pop that half shaft back a little bit. Work this out. There we go. Success. One thing you want to do too before you remove the upper A-arm is mark. Some light in here. Mark where the nuts are. Just draw a half circle where the nuts are on both sides. See how that one has a little space to it? Same on that side. You want to mark on there. That'll give you a rough estimate of where you should be. Put it back together until you can get it aligned at the shop. pretty much toast. Okay, to get this bottom joint out, we're going to, you want to go to any of your auto parts stores, AutoZone, O'Reilly's. I got this one at Advanced Auto Parts. Has a big C-clamp and all the different cups to either push and receive to get the ball joint out of there. So you want to put your receiver cup on the bottom, something that isn't going to impede it to come out of that control arm. Stick it in there, and the top part's going to just push that straight through. Here's the difference between the old and the new. These are Moog. Probably the best part you can buy aftermarket. I can't tell what brand these original ones were, but you can see the date on there. 0104, which is the year of the truck. It's an 04. I like the new ones in that now they're going to be secured in the control arm with a snap ring right there, as opposed to the old ones were just staked into place. Plus, of course, you're going to be able to grease them now as well. So there you go. And I'll show the difference between the upper control arm too. The upper control arm here is made of cast iron, whereas the old ones were made of, or the original ones were made of cast aluminum. So much better part. I want to take note on the, at least on the Moog part, I don't know if other brands have this too, but they want you to mount this section inboard, so in toward the center of the truck. Another thing here too is when you're mounting these, when you put the cup on, make sure you get the cup on this outer lip of the ball joint. You don't want it on the rubber, or you're going to ruin your boot. So make sure it gets on the outside of that rubber. This isn't the best fit, but it's the closest one we're going to get in this kit. So, and it worked on the other side already. So. Okay, this is how the setup should look when you're putting the ball joint back in. The cup should be nice, evenly spaced around the new ball joint. You should have a nice big receiver cup on there just to not impede the top of that coming through. And then just start cranking it down and it'll push it right up in there. Okay, the snap ring is in there. Had to push that in there a little bit further to get it to engage. Put the Zerk fitting in. Make sure you put the Zerk fitting headed toward the back and angled backwards a little bit so you can get a grease gun in there underneath your front axle if it's a four-wheel drive. Plus, if you put it toward the front, just with the tie rod and everything, you're going to have a little bit of issue getting to it. Plus, the way it's angled. So that's the best way to get to it. Okay, now we'll do the upper A arm. Okay, here's the difference in the upper A arms. Physically, not much difference other than the original was aluminum. These are cast iron, so just weight difference mostly, and hopefully a much better ball joint as well. Pretty sloppy, the original. Plus now again, we can grease it. So. Again, should last much longer. Okay, we slipped the A-arm in there. It's still loose. Let's get the knuckle on there. But first we're going to change the bearing out on that knuckle. To change the hub bearing out, we're going to remove these 3 bolts to remove this whole piece right here. Let's see here. See if I can show this on camera here. This one isn't too bad. The other side was a little worse, but you could hear the needles on the other side a little worse, so we're just going to change them while we're in there. The originals were Timken bearings, and the replacements are going to be Timken bearings, but they have an update now with a tapered bearing. It's still a sealed bearing, but it's tapered, so it's going to distribute load a lot better and last a lot longer instead of the straight needle bearings that are in these. I got all these parts from Rock Auto too. Those are the best prices you can find. I'm not a paid spokesman for them, but those guys are awesome. They get it to you within a couple days usually, depending on where it's shipping from, and you know, you save on sales tax, at least for the time being, and much better price. If I were to get the Timken bearings at the local stores, it was $45 more per bearing, so you save a lot. Okay, now everything is pretty much in its place. We're going to tighten down the hub nut. That goes to, what does that go to? 185 foot-pounds. Most torque wrenches go to 150. Mine only goes to 150, so we're going to crank it to the 150 and then take it a little bit further with the breaker bar. Not much further, just, you know, 30 extra pounds, so that's not too much. The upper ball joint goes to 40 foot-pounds. Actually, I take that back. Do 55 foot-pounds, because the Moog sheet that comes with it says to do it at 55 foot-pounds. So I do that at 55. Do the lower one at 55. The tie rod goes to 45. Don't forget to grease your new ball joints too. That wouldn't be good. Now we can tighten up the upper control arm. You want to get them as close to your little marks as you can. And again, that'll get you pretty close to where you need to be before you can get to the alignment shop. Okay, everything is torqued down, ready to go. A-arm's back where it should be, so your alignment should be pretty close. Putting new pads on, so we want to push that the pistons back in. You want to take one of the old pads and put that up there, and pop the master cylinder cover, because it's a sealed system. Take your C-clamp, the other thing I want to do too is clean up the piston boots and whatnot before you push those back in. With these dual pistons, you have to kind of alternate both sides, unless you have a special tool. Okay, brackets on, put your new clips on, the Anti-Rattle Clips. Nice new pads. They just slide into place. usually. Just to show you how that pops on there, the top side goes in first. You kind of rock it in there under the tab, and then the other side just pops right in there, and put your bolts in. The other side is the opposite. It goes in on the bottom first, and then the top in second. Okay, from here everything's all buttoned up. You want to put your torsion bar bolt back in with the same amount of rotations as you took it out. It was 17, taking this one out, so you want to get the 17